And we are back. Good evening. It's myself and Jason listening in, watching in, doing any other form of looking over exactly what's going on with Crystal Palace versus Man City. Sorry we're a bit late, but we're a bit delayed. Jason's having McDonald's, and for anybody that's not in chat at the moment, of course you won't be, because Jason has just literally hit the button to go live. And if you are one of our subscribers and you've got that notification on, well, guess what? You will have been immediately notified about the fact that we are going live. But Jason, this stuff in the face of the McDonald's, what's going on?
It's been a really busy day. Rubbish day, isn't it, for FPL?
Oh, it's been terrible.
I mean,
it's been all right for you though. You've had Ramsdale and Rico.
Ramsdale and Rico, yeah, absolutely. Let me just close this down. Yeah, I've been saved, haven't I, by the double Bournemouth. Unbelievable.
What was it? You're on 12 points overall at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, great, yeah.
It's been, let's be brutally honest here, it's been absolutely awful. It's been this
season's been awful. I'm eating my burger at the moment, so yeah. We've got Aussie boy in chat, Mohammed's in chat as well. 14 points over. He's on 14 points on Mohammed. Feel sorry for you, Mohammed.
I mean, before we talk about today's games, obviously, like I said, we got 90 minutes or so plus 50 minutes of the second half to be talking about today. And of course, a stream tonight. But the breaking news that Aguero doesn't start tonight. Your immediate thoughts on that, Jason?
Wow. It is Aguero. You can still come on, and get a massive haul, but I'm glad I didn't keep my armband on him and I switched it to the mighty Tammy Abraham.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's still 0-0, everybody. Nothing seems to have happened really of any significance so far. It looks like a makeshift back four, I think. I mean, I was guessing at a makeshift back three of Fernandinho, Cancelo, and Mendy at the back. But what kind of formation have they set up with Jason Man City? Because they've got Rodrigo, Gundogan, and Fernandinho playing. I'll bring up the app that I use and see what kind of formation they're playing. But here we go. It is going with a 3-4-3.
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, with David Silva, Bernardo Silva on the flanks, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, and Gundogan in the middle, and then Raheem Sterling and Jesus up front.
Might be a 4-3-3 actually, with Mendy, Cancelo, Fernandinho, and Rodri stepping back in centre back.
Yes, yeah. Any form of anything that can go along with that. I don't know why, Jason, but your thumbnail hasn't come. Oh, there we are.
Here we go.
Hasn't that come? There we are. It's up. It's up and running. Right. I can start tweeting. So anybody on Twitter, if you want to tweet about us, the fact that we're now live, please do, because that's strange. It's come up on my live thing as your thumbnail, but it hasn't come up through with that's weird. How strange. Anyway, yeah, so anybody that's watching this now, there's quite a few people in there. When did John Harris, when did David Silva grow his hair back? Yeah, exactly. Not that I can watch any of this or whatever, but wow. Oh yeah, of course, that's why Otamendi isn't playing, because he only just got back from international duty yesterday, of course. Cheers there, Gabriel De Rock, for that information there. Yeah, what did you get for McDonald's, Jason? Just of interest.
Just a Big Mac meal, mate.
A Big Mac meal? Hope you got two like I would.
No, I didn't get two, mate. No, I just got one. I've got one, and the Big Mac's gone. And just got the lettuce and the fries to eat now.
He eats live on air, everybody. I at least go to the restaurant.
Well, I got no choice. I mean, literally, I went into... literally, it was on Race Kent's clock. Got my missus from work, and then was like, right, it's 5 o'clock. I need to quickly get some food before going live, because this could go on... Well, it's going to go on for a couple of hours. And I was like, right, was that your fire alarm, Stevie?
Yeah, it's my house, mate, would you believe?
Is he cooking something at the
There's a
moment?
clip for you, everybody. Fire! Pity's sake.
Everything's okay.
Everything's okay. Everything's fine. No one's dying.
As the house is burning, he's just sat there going, everything's okay.
But no, today's been absolutely rubbish. Today's been just a disaster. It doesn't help when you've got you played your wild card team and everything. You got double Leicester defence. They've conceded, and yeah, it's been absolutely useless, hasn't it, Jason?
Yeah. Is there any goals yet?
No, it's been absolutely nothing whatsoever.
What's the bet that this game ends 0-0?
Yeah. Where nobody has got any assets in defence whatsoever because they've either been benched, rested, or they're injured, for crying out loud. It's absolutely typical, isn't it? I can't. Immediate thoughts on Abraham blanking?
Again, captaincy fail. It's going to really affect the rank. Again, my overall rank is going to plummet. And I think a lot of people in the top 10,000, top 100,000 put their armband on Tammy Abraham. There'll be a lot of unhappy, disappointed managers out there. The only real happy people out there are going to be Vardy captainers, that, and maybe even Jimenez.
Well, Cy Bellamy will be. I don't know if you're a Jimenez fan, you must be absolutely distraught as to what happened today regarding VAR. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I didn't see it. I just heard that he scored twice. Well, he put the ball in the back of the net twice, and then both of them got ruled off, and then he got a yellow card as well. That's all I know. So yeah,
four incidences of VAR today, with Jimenez involved in two of them. We had the goal that was ruled off.
No VAR decisions going the way of a goal, was there?
No. It's all ruled goals off.
There was all ruled goals off, but there was a confirmatory VAR, wasn't there? Am I right? Well, I suppose everything is checked, isn't it, by a VAR? So it doesn't matter, I suppose. Every goal is checked. So yeah. So basically, all the goals that have been determined by VAR have been goals that have been disallowed.
Yes, basically, and the Burnley one especially is a bit of a kick in the teeth, because it's apparently the foul by Chris Wood was one of those where he probably didn't even know he'd even done the foul. Right. So that's very, very frustrating. Phil Potter coming with some news here that 15 from the top 20 in our cash league had a captaincy fail.
Wow.
Well, the way it sounds like this game's going at the moment, it's going to be another captaincy fail with Sterling captainers and Kevin De Bruyne captainers completely, and even people that may have captained Aguero. Just absolutely useless.
You know what? I said, you know what? I think it's the Aubameyang's going to come back and haunt you, mate.
Yeah, well, of course. It's
you were saying all along, AAA.
Yeah.
And then last minute you change your mind.
Here. John Harris making the point is Steve-O's wild card going up in flames. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what the fire alarm was for. Pathetic wild card. I hope you enjoyed that entertainment. It has had a lot of views. I'm very, very surprised. But I want to ask this to chat. If you have any questions for me and Jason, by all means. I'm actually kind of thinking questions that aren't really fantasy football related. Questions like... I don't know. Do you listen to any other podcasts other than this? Nothing personal. We don't want anything personal or anything. But if you have any questions, just to get this the flow of the stream going, it'd be really, really interesting. I'm copying. I'm not going to lie. I'm copying Planet FPL. Yeah. The guys at Planet FPL. I'm just going to copy them, and just anybody with any questions for myself and Jason, please do. Jason, we'll just ask this straight away. Aussie Boy's asking what to do with Son. Do you keep, sell?
Obviously, they've got Liverpool next, haven't they?
Yep.
How did he play today? I don't know. I haven't seen him.
He looked lively, apparently, when he came on. When he came on, he generally looked lively. That's
the problem. The problem is it's Spurs, and Spurs are just not performing at the moment, and it's a lot of money to have tied in someone that's not going to get you points. Thinking of replacements off the bat. Well, I can free up a lot of money from Son, or I could. I'm not going to do another hit. To answer the question, I think if you have not got any other transfers to make in your team, I think getting Son out of your team isn't going to hurt you, and is probably only going to benefit you depending on who you bring in his stead. Of course, I was saying about McGinn earlier on, he didn't do anything today. I think the way that FPL has been at the moment, it really is just a merry-go-round with the points at the moment. And like, the question is who would you bring in for Son? That's the question. Bernardo Silva almost scored apparently.
Yeah. Good save by Hennessy.
I mean, I'm worried about owning Aguero. I mean, I can't be dealing with him being benched. You know, I mean, I certainly hope that next week he would hopefully start, but you just don't know. You just don't know. And you know, I haven't got Salah in my team. I've got Mane. I know Salah's injured, but I think looking at my team now, I'm not even sure what I want to do. I really am not sure at all. Like, if you're looking at your team, you've just wildcarded. How sure are you on your team?
Dereco. Dereco's become a member. I think that's the premium one, isn't it?
Dereco. Is it?
Dereco. I think the Playmaker's the premium because it says
it is.
the grassroots.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Dereco, for your sign up.
I might have to do a off the cuff sofa video on my mobile later on today, letting you all know my real thoughts on this game week. the 18 rated review of this game week. No, it's just shocking, and I think Son is going to be up there with. Immediately, I don't know if I need to get rid of him. Just for the sake of getting rid of him, it's just a case of deciding who to bring in for him. That's pretty much. What about you? If you own Son, what would you do with him?
If I own Son, I'd keep. He's the main player for Tottenham at the end of the day. But reality is that I would be avoiding Spurs like the plague. There is something going on there within the team which just is not working whatsoever. I think there's an undercurrent there. Something's happened there where it's affecting the dressing room, and to be drawing 1-1 with Watford and only getting that very, very late goal, it's not good enough. It's not good enough whatsoever. In fact, this has been happening this year, 2019. It's been happening all year, so it shouldn't really come as a surprise. But I just think it's atrocious not being able to do anything against Watford, for crying out loud. That's just pathetic. But just to cheer us all up, there's a nice question from Simeon Batcher. Like I said, if you got any questions for me and Jason, by all means,
answer away. And I know that, would you get rid of Son for Vardy, says Padraig in chat, and I would say that it's not a straight swap, is it? So you're going to be spending either 4 points or using 2 transfers. And then in my case, would I drop any of Abraham Wilson or Aguero for Vardy at the moment? And just because I know he scored today, this is that would lead to an emotion. Yeah, Aguero, Wilson, and Abraham.
So I've got exactly the same front line. I didn't even know that.
When you were wildcarding, I was like, oh great, he's wildcarding in towards my team.
Brilliant.
You just didn't go with Ramsdale and Rico.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
No, I might even try my best to save a transfer. I think everyone's eyes and ears picked up then. They're like, what? Save a transfer, Jason? When was the last time you did that? I might even try my best to save a transfer. I really think. I think it's time to calm down on these transfers at the moment. My team's not looking too bad. Son could do something against Liverpool. Of course he can. I'm not going to knee-jerk anyone out. Like Coolio 2 foot in chat saying, don't knee-jerk Tammy Abraham out. Absolutely. Chelsea is still an attacking team, and Abraham's at the spearhead of it. Don't do it. I'm getting Vardy for Son. We'll start every game, says FPL Mechanic. Why do you support Burnley, Cavelli in chat says. Why Burnley, Steve-O? Why not Manchester City?
Hold on.
There's not been a goal. There's not been a goal. I can tell you that.
No. Why do I support Burnley? I said it last night on the stream, or this morning. This morning it was, wasn't it? Because my dad basically not forced me into it, but essentially said that
Stopped you from supporting Man United.
Yeah, he stopped me from supporting Man United in the sense of I'd be more than happy for you to support them, but don't expect me to be buying you any of their merchandise or taking you to any of their games or anything like that. So I was just like, oh, okay. So I was just basically, I ended up with Burnley. There we are. That's the reasoning. But my dad is actually from Rochdale, so he's from up north. And yeah, there we are.
Nasu in chat saying, world is coming to an end. Jason is saving a free transfer.
Yes.
Right,
yeah.
There we go. Got a question in from Rokas in chat saying, Kane to Aubameyang or still wait? Oh, 100%. 100%. Kane to Aubameyang. Get rid of Kane. Bring in Aubameyang. That's I don't even have to think about that. What about you with United, Jason? What made me support Manchester United? That's a very good question. Coming from a family that basically did not really follow football or support football. The first football shirt I was bought when I think I was like 2 or 3 years old. I think it was a Manchester United shirt. I was quite into football, playing football when I was young, and basically, I think it was my dad that got at me when I was 3, and that was the only football team I knew at the time. Cantona, Bruce, and it was just like, just at that point in time where they were really starting to kind of get into that early 90s team. I can't really remember that time, that era, because I was too young, but I remember flashes of it. But then I got to obviously go through the glory years with United, which was good. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Pretty much the first team I knew in football was Man United.
This is a nice question from Simeon Batchelor. What's the nicest country you've ever been to? Or if you haven't been abroad, best place in England? Well, I'll answer that straight away. It's Avon Dam in Devon. I think that. Yeah, I've been there. I think that's fantastic. It's just, I say it's away from human beings. I think every human being goes there, but it's just, I was blown away by it. I was down there with somebody that I used to see, and yeah, when we both went down there, I was just like taken aback by the scenery and everything. I was genuinely blown away. Jason,
I flew a drone up around there.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Got some really good aerial shots. Yeah, back in the days when I used to.
Well, you can send me that video then. I'd be very interested to see.
Yeah, I'll show you. The most fascinating place I've ever been to was in South Africa, and it was a place called Sitcom, and it was it's just basically just a beauty. It's in a place called the Wilderness, and it's just literally like being just in Africa, in the great African wilderness. Basically, there was waterfalls, beautiful forests and mountain ranges. It was just amazing.
I love this.
And there was also a bridge. There's also a bridge there. I'm finished, Stephen. There's also a bridge there where people used to bungee jump off. It was like a massive gorge. It was amazing. Greasy Trumpet, yeah. I'll go there as often as I can. Kruger Park. I've not been to Kruger Park. Yes, carry on, Steve.
I was just going to say, Mohamed Gassim saying that this game will end big. Palace can't defend the whole 90 minutes. They can, and they've got one of the best defences in the Premier League at the moment. So I completely disagree with you there whatsoever. That's talking of disagreeing and linking that into a word that sounds like disagreeing. Disappointment. Biggest disappointment today, Jason.
Oh, biggest disappointment today. Well, if Aguero doesn't play, my captain. It's got to be my captain. I put so much faith in Tammy Abraham. So disappointed. I would have been better off captaining Mason Mount.
Yeah.
No, I think the biggest disappointment. I mean, for a lot of people, it's going to be Tammy Abraham because of the armband. I mean, for yourself, Steve-O?
It's got to be Bournemouth. Excuse me. It's got to be Bournemouth. Bournemouth 0, Norwich 0.
Yeah.
I just can't. I honestly cannot get my head around how that game ended. It's a bit like the Leicester versus Chelsea last game of the season last year, and two teams that had absolutely nothing to play for. That at the time, Leicester was scoring goals for fun, and Chelsea were just on a beach, and neither team could score. It was ridiculous, and yeah, just Bournemouth, Norwich. I think Norwich are there for the taking, and for Bournemouth not to take.
Fernandinho is apparently hurt. Stones is warming up.
John Stones
is coming on.
I'll tell you what, he could become an option. He's 5 point something.
I don't know about him. I do not rate John Stones whatsoever.
He was a first teamer for Man City. And then
was
5.3 is 5.3, and if Stones becomes a first team, I think he could be a blinking very good option. I mean, someone asked about Mendy. Has Mendy now become an option?
Possibly. You got to think that. I would never say he's set in stone, but I think that it's a sign that he's going to be playing. Steve Horsfield, who's that? It's you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well.
Stones is injury prone. Yeah, I just don't like Stones as a player. Do you rate Stones as a player, Steve-O?
I don't know anything about football whatsoever, other than the fact that I know that he's done well in the past, and simply put, I'd like to think that he will just continue doing well. I don't know.
All right, so Fernandinho is apparently fine, so it's fine. Apologise, Fernandinho will continue silence. Stone's not coming on. That's fine. Is Alonso now an option? Says Notorious Nerd in chat for Chelsea.
What is he? 6.1 million or something?
He's over 6. I think he might be. Is he really over 6?
I'm sure that he's 6 million, if not.
I'll find out.
Very, very interesting indeed. Right, okay. Very, very interesting. Jason, I've got to go for 2 seconds, all right, mate?
Yeah, no, dude.
Yeah, right. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, no. Still 0-0 as we approach the 30-minute mark in the game between Crystal Palace and Man City. And Mohamed is beating me to it. It's 6.2. Alonso's too expensive at 6.2. Yeah, I think if I was going to go to Chelsea, it probably would be into Mori, to be honest with you. Liverpool versus City for captaincy next week. Both good home games. Next week, I would go De Bruyne. Honestly, I've already got the captaincy on De Bruyne. He's going to be my captain for next week. I've had enough of trying to be clever with my captaincy picks. I think De Bruyne is a safe bet at home to Aston Villa. What are your guys' passion outside of fantasy football in general, says Aussie Boy FPL. I'd have to say with Steve-O, it's going to heavy metal gigs. I'm sure he'll answer that himself. For me, I like to go for walks with the family. Please with Torquay's results today, Jason. Jim Parry, I haven't seen Torquay United for many years. I haven't seen fixtures. Also results. I haven't seen results today. I don't even know if they won. But no, I like to go for walks with the family. I do play some instruments, guitar, and I used to play a bit of keyboard, but I can't now. But no, other than that, my hobbies are really much just working. I work a lot, and then when I'm not working, I'm being a dad. So at the moment, this is my main kind of hobby outside of that. Is Bernardo Silva banned now? He's on appeal. KDB will rise in price tonight. I guess I switched Son tonight to KDB if not injured. Yeah, I mean, Son to KDB, if you can afford that, Alexander, without having to take any more hits, then that's fine, yeah. Thoughts on Benjamin Mendy? Like I said, it's not set in stone, but he's a very good option. We saw what he did last year, and if he's going to be playing left back, then I think he's going to be in for some point returns. They won the fourth FA Cup qualifying round. So they're into the first round. Oh, wow. That's very good then for Torquay United. Palace free kick, great position, says John Harris. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Who's going to be taking the Palace free kick, I wonder? Milivojevic, I just heard, is going to be taking the Palace free kick. It's not a foul, apparently. So Coolio 2 Foots saying that the Palace free kick should have been a free kick. Well, wouldn't it be ironic if Milivojevic scores this now? And all those people with... This game is just disgusting, says Geordie Kev. This game is just disgusting this season. Burned a transfer and luckily didn't go Aguero to Kane, which was my cheeky punt idea for 1 week. Kane for me is not even on the radar for me. Not even on the radar. I was happy to go with Son, but that's burnt me. Geordie Kev, I think if I've got that much money and I wanted to move away from Aguero, I would go with Aubameyang. Vardy or Lacazette, says Sherlock Hulk. We don't know how Lacazette's gonna. We haven't seen him play yet, but I think wait and see after the Arsenal game. Make your own decision on that. Lacazette coming back from injury. He is fully fit though, apparently. So just wait and see on that one. This season is all about being patient. Hits have not worked. Absolutely notorious nerd. I wonder how many people. I wonder how many people in the top 1 million may just give up after this week. 5 shots on target already for Man City, says Mill in chat. Well, it's going to be huffing and puffing and blowing on the door. Man City will... I mean, they'll be all over Crystal Palace, I would imagine. I'm not watching it, unfortunately. I'm just going to turn the light on because it's quite dark in here.
Yeah, please do.
Right. Any more questions, guys? Because there's literally no goals at the moment. I wonder what the average will be at the moment. There are websites that you know about that. Let's see if I find out what the average is now. I wonder what my live rank is going to be. 17 is apparently the game week average. Is it really? Wow. So I'm on 15, and I'm on 15 after deductions. So I'm only 2 points behind the overall average, and I took a 12-point hit. That's ridiculous, isn't it? So as it stands, we're taking a 12-point hit. I'm going to only drop 100,000, give or take 120,000 places to 737,000, which is not the biggest blow in the world considering I took a minus 12. Lundstrom and... all right. Hudson-Odoi and Lundstrom is going to possibly go up tonight, Greasy Trumpet says in chat. That's very loud. Hits will decide the season. Possibly. I think captain choices, Notorious Nerd, I think captain choices will decide this season. I'm just going to mute the audio so you can't hear any of that. Steve-O moving house. I don't know. Kevin De Bruyne free kick, says Nasu in chat. There'll be somebody with 80 points. Yeah, but it would probably be a dead team, or it would be someone that's just set their team up for this week only. Or just some random team that's triple captained. I don't know, someone like Rico or something like that. In my Works mini league, my two nearest rivals had Kane and Abraham as captain. I have Aubameyang. Paulie, you must be rubbing your hands together. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want to be going into. Monday with, really. That's great. Monday night as well. You all the way to wait. Good thing that I've got triple Liverpool. I wouldn't say that's just yet, Tahir. They haven't played just yet, so don't speak too soon. Top 1k average is 20 points. Liverpool captain is maybe the winners this week. Possibly. Poshan in chat said, I took a -8 and I got 6 from all of them. Well, I'm just grateful that Ramsdale and Rico were able to return me the points. Hey Jason, says FPL Penguin. I've just bought in Trent Alexander-Arnold in for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's a very good transfer. Very, very, very good transfer. I don't have Alexander-Arnold, but if I could find a way of getting him in, I would, and that probably would be freeing up money in Son. But Son's at an awkward price point. I don't think it's either I save money or I try to downgrade elsewhere and move up to Sterling or something like that and go with Sterling, De Bruyne, Aguero again. But to be honest with you, I'm trying to personally save a transfer. So, but if I could switch to bring in Alexander-Arnold for free like you did, that would be amazing. What websites do you mainly use? What websites do you usually use for FPL stats and average game week points? Well, I normally use livefpl.net for majority of the points that when it comes to the average and where I am. That's pretty much the place where everyone goes. And then I use a newplanet.net for live bonus points. And I used to use quite a few websites, but this season it's a goal. It's a goal. It's a goal. Jesus scored for Man City, of course. And who got the assist? Is it KDB? Please be a KDB assist, please. Bernardo Silva assist. Great. Great. So that didn't even last 40 minutes. Man City have already got a goal. Not good if you're an Aguero owner. Not good at all if you're an Aguero owner. Because now, if City get another one, I have both Aguero and Jesus in my team, says Coolio 2 Foots. Really? Why? Absolute crap, says Daniel Jarman in chat. That today's just been a game week where non-FPL assets have scored, pretty much. And lower ownership assets have got clean sheets. Okay, barring Chelsea. I mean, not many people would have had Bournemouth defenders in, unless they had Rico on the bench. Everton did keep a clean sheet earlier on in the day. I suppose the Digne faithful owners will be happy. (2-0). Great. Sterling assist, David Silva goal. That's not good. I'm just hearing it now on Steve-O's radio, but that's dreadful. I took Sterling out of my wild card. What's the chances, guys, that Aguero doesn't come on now? What's the chances that Aguero doesn't come on at all? Or he comes on for the last 10 minutes of the game, just have a little run around? Oh, so annoying. Definitely a 10-minute cameo, Coolio says. No need for Aguero to come on now at all, says Darren Walsh. I agree. There isn't any. If I'm playing a 3-4-3, one of my defenders aren't playing, my defenders are on the bench. Is it second slot for outfield players that will... Hang on. If I'm playing a 3-4-3, one of my defenders aren't playing, my defenders on the bench is a second slot. Yeah. So your second slot bench player, if your first is a midfielder or attacker, the first defender, no matter where it is on your bench, will come on, because you have to play a minimum of 3 defenders, Richard. David Silva nutmegged the goalkeeper. Nice. City won't lose with KDB starting. Well, if they lost today or drew today, then Liverpool are in pole position to win the league, aren't they? So they need to keep that pressure on Liverpool. I remember the all-out attack, Chip, Paulie, I do. Yeah, I don't really miss it, to be honest. Especially not at the moment. Defenders are getting more points than attackers at the moment. It's going to be about 4 or 5 goals in this game, says David Hackinson in chat. Well, I don't want to wish an injury on anyone, but if Jesus got a bit of a niggle, it'd be nice right now to bring on Aguero. Steve-O, I think he's just gone to speak to one of his flatmates. A new Chip suggestion. The highest scoring player automatically becomes a captain. Don't know if that would be widely... I don't think that would be something the majority of people would want. I think they got enough chips at the moment. Don't think they need to add any. And if you were going to replace a chip, which one would you replace? Steve-O's room looks like a bunker. It looks like it's got Christmas decorations in it. That's when I saw Steve-O's room, it looks like it's got Christmas decorations, but I'm sure they're not. I'm sure there's like... That's not his room, by the way. This is not Steve-O's room. Yeah, his flatmates are going to be like, what are you wearing that for? Shirt and tie, Steve-O. What chip would you like to create? That's a very good question. What chip would I like to create? Let me have a think. I'll have a think about that and come back to you, Phil. To be honest with you, I want it to be a clever. I would like it to be a clever chip. Last minute Abraham to Sterling captain, says Ray Joyce. Wow, well done to you. You must be absolutely loving life, Ray. Cancel the hit chip. Yeah. What about if there was a chip that you had one-time use for the whole season, and when the game week had started, you could literally cancel a chip? What do you guys think of that? So it would be like a chip that you could play to cancel a chip that you've played. So either a triple captain or a free hit or a bench boost. What do you guys think of that? Like, it would call it, you call it like a second chance chip. Second chance chip. Do you guys, what do you guys think of that? Was a clear yellow for KDB a minute ago? Oh. Reviving the chip. Do you think that would be too strong if you think change captain to anybody you wanted once the game week has ended? No, that's way too OP. To anybody you wanted. I assume you mean anybody in your team. A third wild card. It would bail people out. This should remain a ruthless game. Absolutely, I agree. I would love a double captain chip. A double captain. Not sure if you're trolling me there. Change Rico from third to first sub saved as he's coming on for Otamendi. God, that's really loud in Steve-O's flat right now. I've got it muted for you guys, but it's really loud for me. I do not know what's going on in Steve-O's flat, but it's very, very loud. Daniel Jarman says, I feel like quitting FPL after this week. Don't quit FPL after this week. Just be patient. Infinite budget chip, says John Nartley in chat. Narty in chat. Is that a T? Yeah, it is. Infinite budget chip. Infinite budget for 1 week. That would be quite interesting. Oh, 2 captains. You could select 2 captains. Right. Okay, that's not a bad idea. Goal scorer chip. Pick 1 player in a week and your team who you think will score, and then they'll get... Pick 1 player a week in your team who you think will score, and they get bonus points. Well, it's kind of like just a captain chip, isn't it? The unlimited funds chip. I like the idea of that. Jesus is so annoying. Why can't that be Aguero? Ask Pep. Pep likes to mess around with FPL managers' heads. What about a chip that is similar to the betting? So like when you cash out, it could be good for clean sheets. What, like you could just play the chip and bank the clean sheet points? That seems a little bit unspectacular. Nasu taking a cred for my idea. No. I doubt FPL. If FPL Towers watches this this stream, then I think my favorite idea is the infinite money chip. UCL has the infinite budget chip. Played mine last game week. Worked out great. Now that sounds, Ian. I mean, the infinite budget chip is it would be an amazing chip. I like the idea. Super sub. The best bench player replaces the lowest scorer from your 11. That's good, Phil. That's a good one. Super sub. Quadruple captain. I would say so, Pagasian. Cavelli. More than 3 players from a team, Chip. Okay. It's a great idea, says Llama, but to be fair, Jason, you would have played that already. Yeah, probably. The only chip I've got left now is my bench boost, and I'm in no rush to play that. Mulligan chip. Redo the entire game week. Restart your season, Chip. 1 use per season. A chip that gives you extra points if 2 of your players in one match are involved in a goal. Ah, that's not... I don't know. Be able to do transfers right up to the kickoff, says Gravy Dave. Well, I don't know if you remember, but I think that the Ultimate Fantasy Football game that was the official game, but the paid version, they were going to let you do transfers up to 30 minutes, I believe, before the kickoff. But they stopped. I don't know why. It's such a shame that they stopped the Ultimate Fantasy Premier League game. I thought that, looking at it now, I think it would have been quite a success. Yeah, but alas, it was not to be. I just can't get a break, says Gwiz. Gwiz, what are you on at the moment? What points are you on? I feel sad, Chip, which gives you 5 points. See, I need to change the chat widget because it's showing you the moderator commands in it. Defeats the object. I feel sad, Chip, which gives you plus 5 points in case you had a crappy game week. Right. Infinite budget is my favorite. Yeah, my shoes not happy. The game City keep clean sheet. Otamendi's not there. Yeah. What do I think the average is right now? I think the average is probably around the 20-point mark. Let me just refresh. Okay. Overall average is 21.8 and the top 10k average is 22.8. Great. So red arrow for me. I'm now looking at a rank drop from 615 to 873,000. I'm approaching that 1 million mark. I'm going down every week. The minus 12 is doing me really great, Ryan. Thanks for asking. Really good. 27 points, but I can't get a captain pick right to save my life. Yeah, I feel your pain, dude. I feel your pain. I went with Abraham captain as well. It's completely backfired. I would have captained Aguero though, so, and then my vice would have been De Bruyne. So huge red for me, says FPL Penguin. 15 points minus 4, Residesi. Really? Oh, I need Mane and Matip to come in tomorrow, and well, 0-0 would be alright, I suppose. Like I said, 0-0 between United and Liverpool. I'd take that quite happily. Matip clean sheet and I don't know, just Mane just getting a solid 3 points. I did do a minus 12 mil. Yeah, you're right. Let me just mute. Let me just turn down Steve-O's audio because it's really loud. I don't know where he's gone, to be honest. Right, so I've just turned him down. Right, so 15 with a 4 point. Yeah, God. Did Pookie and Son to Madison and Vardy with 2 free transfers. Rico and Vardy single-handedly saving my game week. Indeed, they are. I've dropped 200,000, says Resi Desi. I forgot I took a hit this week. My second hit of all season. I mean, you still got above average, Wiz. Don't worry, guys. There's always next week for us. We keep saying that, though, don't we? Is the bill on? David, I think it might, I don't know where. I don't know. He might be just chilling to watching an episode of the bill, yeah. He's just given up on the game week and just walked off. Jason, invite Planet FPL on the show. Surgeon James, we'd love to have him on the show. Allison, Trent, Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson, Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, Salah, Firmino, Mane starting 11 tomorrow. Simeon Batchelor seems to know the starting 11 for Liverpool tomorrow. Well, I hope so. I hope Matip's in there. 14 points with a -4, says Pash in chat. Oh, that's an awful game week for a lot of people out here. Steve-O's ordering a McDonald's, chatting to the McDonald's delivery guy. Yeah, well, I eat mine on stream. He's probably eating it in the other room. Double Leicester defense has crushed Steve-O. Bournemouth. And Norwich did not keep a clean sheet this season, but today, yeah. If Lundstrom, well, again, if Aguero doesn't play for me, then I'm going to have Lundstrom coming in. So I'm now rooting for Sheffield United to take the game to Arsenal. What are you both on, Jason? I'm on 25 points, -12, with bonuses coming in for Rico. I'm on 15 points. I'm on 15 points, basically, right now. 15 points after my -12 deducted. So I'm on 27, -12, 15. If Aguero stays off, I get Rico's points, says Daily Llama. I mean, I don't know how to feel about Aguero, because if he comes on, then I think that he's not going to come on for long. I think it's going to be on like the 80th minute or something crazy like that. I can't see him coming on like 55, 60 minutes. Not with City cruising in this game. Ramsey and Rico saved my week. Jerry, you're not the only one. So it saved my game week. They really did. Hudson-Odoi is God. Steve-O would agree with you, Lim. If Mahrez and Aguero don't play, I'm getting David Silva and Rico's points. Wow. You're going to be praying, Tahir. Watch Pep bring on Aguero in the last 10. Yeah. I can see that happening. I genuinely can. – 87th minute substitution for Aguero coming on. Oh, God. The scenes. He gets max bonus from assist, Hudson-Odoi. Yeah, that's very good. 36 points, 3 players to go. Captain Vardy was key for me this game week. Bloody 9. Well done to you, Bloody 9. Do I watch any boxing? No, Nasu, I don't tend to watch boxing. The last boxing match I watched from the beginning to end was between Mayweather and Pacquiao. That was the last boxing match I've actually watched full length boxing. The rest of it's just been highlights. I'm not that interested in boxing. And that was a really disappointing boxing game. He scored at Wembley. Anyone want to take over Resi Desi team? Resi, it's not the end of the world, man. There's plenty more game weeks left. Plenty more game weeks left to catch up these lost points. I understand why, if that was your last boxing match that you watched. Yeah. I was actually at work. I was watching it at work on my mobile phone. So it wasn't like the best experience in the world. It was like in the middle. It was like really early in the morning, like 1 o'clock in the morning or 2. No, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, if I remember rightly. 33 points, actually not that bad looking at green. Absolutely, Ray Joyce. Boxing match. Okay, Chaban. Curry or pizza, says Ramsey Sinclair. Well, I love the fact that we're actually discussing what to get people's, what takeaway to order. Curry or pizza for a Saturday night takeaway. I love pizza, but I would say curry. Get a curry. For a Saturday night takeaway, get a curry. If it was Friday night, I'd go with pizza, but for Saturday night, I'll go with curry. McDonald's for the... I just ate at McDonald's. I feel so bad. I feel like I need to go for a run now after eating that. I've got a funny story from when I worked there as a groundsman. They were winning 2-0 at half time, and then Tony Warner came and asked me to look at a lucky penny fan game. Are you guys talking about football history, real life football history right now? Pizza on the weekend, curry midweek. No, the other way around, man. No, the other way around, Geordie. Yeah, McDonald's does make you feel like your insides need cleaning out. Like after you eat, you do feel like, yeah, I need to kind of go down the gym and run that off now. Firmino or Jimenez for game week 12 and after? I would go Jimenez. You've probably got a midfielder, right? Pundy from Liverpool in. McDonald's clean the insides out for you. Love a quarter pounder with cheese. Yeah, if you've got Salah in mid, I'd go Jimenez instead of Firmino. Last option food. No. There's one down from McDonald's, and that's when it comes to last option food, and that is a pot noodle. Sterling got a yellow card. Goodbye bonus points. Love how the convos changed from FPL to fast food. Well done, Jason, on the jammy double Bournemouth defense. Well, it's just bailed me out on my -12. That's basically what it's done. The rest of my team's just not done a thing. Get another yellow. I'll tell you what, there would be a lot of, that'll be putting the cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it, if you got another yellow card? Other fast food outlets are available, of course. I think Steve might be back. I'm not quite sure. I heard the door then. Did you guys hear that? Hang on. I think Steve might be back. Okay. He's untucked. His shirt's untucked. Hello, Steve-O.
Hello, Jason.
Do you always have your shirt untucked?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, that's fair enough. There you go.
Yeah. Have I missed much?
No, we're talking about fast food outlets, and we're talking about curry or pizza. Should
Neither.
Okay, there we go.
Just stick to McDonald's or Chinese sweet and sour chicken balls. That's the main thing.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I've seen that Sterling got an assist.
He got a yellow card as well.
Flaming hell, man.
So he's got a yellow card, so he's lost out on a point, and he's probably going to lose that on bonus points now.
Is Kevin De Bruyne doing anything?
I don't think he is. Anyone watching the game can let us know how Kevin De Bruyne is doing. He almost got a yellow card himself earlier on. When do you have to FPL at 7 and a job interview at 8, Steve-O? they're just commenting on the way you're dressing. You're dressing for.
No, of course, you've got to put in the effort.
Yeah.
You've got to put in the effort.
Well, you know, I personally don't like wearing a shirt and tie. I find it uncomfortable.
When you make those special limited edition Elite FPL ties, you'll be wearing one of them, I can assure you.
I'm wearing my t-shirt.
What? Yeah, I mean, Anish is just coming here. Kevin De Bruyne not doing much. Are you watching the game, Jason? Is it up in front of you? Or?
No, I haven't. I haven't bothered putting it on, to be honest with you. No. When I heard Aguero's benched, I was like, well, I'm not going to bother putting it on. I'll let the chat decide. I'd let the chat tell me what's going on instead. Listen to it. I'm listening to it third hand for your headphones.
So
as well.
We're into the second half now, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all right. Okay. Hopefully, Aguero comes on because I'm going to get the wonderful Lundstrom, I believe, coming off my bench too. rather than Rico. So.
Well, I'm gonna have Lundstrom coming off my bench as well.
Awful.
And I got Loughton behind him on 0. So Son. So if that did happen, Son would have outscored Loughton.
So I'm assuming Aguero only just recently. No, he doesn't even play for international games, does he? So.
No, not friendlies. No.
Strange.
It's really strange. I mean, a lot of people were saying Aguero is going to be starting. Convinced, a lot of talk on Twitter. Kind of was confident that Aguero would start. His car accident was only a minor thing. Wow, that's what you get for crashing your car. Pep obviously doesn't like it when players get in the headlines for non-footballing reasons.
Yes, of course. Well, no, he was like that with Mendy, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
But overall, how's this game been? What have people been saying in chat about this specific game then?
It could be more than 2 goals for City. Sorry, it's just Pep. Never underestimate Pep's roulette. No, absolutely, Anish. Yeah, Aguero was involved in another car accident 2 seasons ago. It's slightly more serious. The other one. It was Pep's car. He crashed. I think you're right, Gravy Dave. I think KDB is probably your best Man City asset, but not today. He's not doing anything today. It's all about the Silvers and Jesus.
Oh yeah, of course. Bernardo Silva. Did he get an assist? Didn't he? Oh, something nearly happened there for City.
I heard something then on your. So Penguins got on a 15-4. What 15-4 and got 10? I'm sure you didn't do. Did you do maths in school, Penguin? Almost a Sterling goal, apparently. Anish says in chat.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if he went and scored a flaming goal. It really wouldn't.
Well, he's definitely punishing me. for those weeks ago, getting rid of him. Since getting Aguero in, he's not really done anything for me on that wild card. Do you remember, Steve? It's like,
well, it's the same for me, isn't it? It's just me and you. I mean, I say me and you have the same luck. I think you have a lot of luck when it comes to this flaming game. I still can't get my head around double Bournemouth. Double Bournemouth. Absolutely crazy. Genuinely unbelievable.
Well, looking at my team, it's only those two players that have done absolutely anything. It's like Wilson, 2 points. Abraham, 2 points. De Bruyne, okay, he's probably going to get 3 points. Son, 1 point. Mount, 3 points. It's like Soyuncu, 2 points. It's like shocking.
Yeah. What people in chat saying?
What's your favourite football computer game if you have it from any genre?
Pro Evolution Soccer. Well, it
really?
was. When I used to play, yeah, it was Pro Evolution Soccer was my game. I absolutely loved that game.
I will say that what I used to play religiously. I'll put it on the screen for you guys to see. Let's see if we can get this on the screen for you guys to see. One moment. Right. Subscriber, thank you, PJ, for the subscribe. Not much going on at the moment, dude, but I appreciate you subscribing.
Yeah, for anybody that is enjoying all this, by all means, become a subscriber, because at the end of the day, we are pretty much a daily content creator.
Anything going on?
Gee whiz, Gran Turismo. You spelled Turismo wrong, but it doesn't matter. Fantastic that game was. Absolutely fantastic.
This is the game, mate. This is the game.
Why did it take you so long to eat your McDonald's? Cavalier is asking you, Jason.
For me? I didn't.
Yes.
Didn't take me that long, did it? This is the game I used to play. Got on stream now.
What is it? Tell people listening on audio what it is.
Hang on a minute. I've just International Superstar Soccer Deluxe.
No comment. No idea what that is. No idea.
I used to watch it. I used to play this religiously, literally religiously, as a child. It was a brilliant game as well. It was actually really well before its time.
Right, that's sorted. Cool. Right.
This is more interesting than the
yeah, the game itself, absolutely.
the City Palace game, the Palace City game. I wonder who's going to win.
Yeah, it's nice to see my bets have come through. Oh, wait a minute, no, they haven't. Completely useless. Absolute waste of time. Who scored the first goal for Man City? David Silva. David Silva, wasn't it? Useless. Absolutely useless. Betting a mugs game, as they say.
God. I think it's because I'm going through different transcoding options. If I just put it onto that, it might be better. Oh my God, look at that. It's like first proper night.
Thank you, Arnie Arnold. Jesus scored the first goal.
Jesus got the first one, but then Bernardo Silva the assist, wasn't it?
Right, yes. And how long have we got? Roughly, what was that? 30 minutes left of the game, roughly? N64.
Yeah, 60. So 60 minutes is, yeah, so 33 minutes. Sorry, I'm just watching my childhood on screen here. See, kids of today, they got FIFA 20, but this has got literally, this is so much more fun. Cat for a tackle. Look at that. It's got wiped out. I reckon Argentina's going to get the first goal. What do you reckon, guys? Right, anyway.
Oh, is this the game? It's the game you've got now.
No, it's not the game I've got now. It's this game I was playing back in like 1996 or something, 97. Anyway. People joining the stream must be thinking, what the hell?
What the hell is going on here?
What's going on here?
Yeah, but exactly. That's the one thing about difficulty about covering games, and especially when you've got on the screen.
When it's just one game on as well, and there's nothing going on.
In fact, the future of Elite FPL could be that me and Jason have screens in front of us, and we get to watch the game as well as react, as well as doing this. We'll be watching it live as well, reacting to exactly what's going on.
That'd be nice.
But yeah, I mean, any
City have won the game. They're just passing it. All right, so they're doing the typical second half, passing the ball around, just seeing the game out.
Well, I know I'm going to jinx this, but if it ends 2-0, I win some money. Let's just leave it at that.
Why? Well,
I won't be up in profit, but let's just say what will happen is Man City will probably win 3-0, which means I won't win a single penny from today, basically.
I played the game when I played that game in 1996. Pagasian saying that was when he was born. Oh my god, that's crazy. I was an N64 guy myself. Okay. Oh, Commodore 64. Sorry, Commodore 64. I think I owned one of those. Yeah, I did own one of those. Jason asked Steve why it sounded like it was moving house earlier.
Oh, it's because my housemates, one of them has just literally come back from holiday, and you may have seen him actually, but he realised that I was streaming, so he didn't. He did come in, but he didn't actually
walk in front of it.
He didn't come in front, and the other housemates having a friend around, so that's why it would have sounded like
there you go.
20 elephants bashing around. It's only a little small house anyway, so.
Opus in chat saying disaster week. Where do we go from here, guys? I think a lot of people are thinking, do I stick with the players I got? Do I wildcard if I haven't already? Do I do a -4, do a -8, do a -16? Have you got Spurs players in? Are you happy with them? Are you happy with your Man City players? Do you own Aguero like me? Again, it's the whole marathon and not a sprint, isn't it, guys? You can't make rash knee-jerk transfers because it will hurt you. Who said this week would be goals galore? Boring Saturday FPL, says Lack Spraveen in chat. Apologies if I didn't get your name right. PS1 generation, born 1992. Oh yeah, James, that was a good generation, but you did miss out on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which was a lot of fun as well. Man City penalty not given. Would have been a KDB assist. At this point, I'm just happy with 3 points from KDB, considering that he was my captain pick up until this morning.
Oh yeah, I captained him, didn't I? I forgot about that.
There you go. -12 minimum, says David Hackinson in chat. -12 minimum for me. Pep is annoying him. City just on a casual control, whereas Palace look like they don't want to score. David Silva's a hidden gem, even though City winning something doesn't look right. well, they're just playing the game out, aren't they, Hassan? They're happy to just sit on a 2-0 lead. VAR on a penalty, apparently it could be a penalty.
Well, I'm not hearing anything. They're not going exciting on the whatchamacallit. They're not going mad on
no
the
penalties.
radio.
No penalty.
In the words of Ned Flanders, nothing at all. Nothing at all. I'll clip that and I'll put it on Twitter.
Okay. All right. You like your Simpsons reference, I don't.
Simpsons Office Extras, Faulty Towers,
and the Bill.
Peep Show. There we are. Anything to do with them specific sitcoms.
You should watch Toast of London. Have you seen Toast of London?
Superbad, In Between Us 2. Sorry?
Toast of London.
Never heard of it.
You should watch that. It's another it's comedy. It's a London-based comedy. You'd like it, honestly.
In the words of Homer, nah.
You don't even know it, so how can you dismiss it straight away?
Nah.
Unbelievable.
Nick Reed, if you're watching, that's in reference to Ricky Gervais then. Carl. Sorry, I can do this because we're live and the game's more... It's just so boring.
The game's more or less ended, isn't it? The game's more or less ended at this point.
We're streaming tonight, aren't we? At 9 o'clock when we actually get callers on.
Just want to go to bed.
I'm getting food. The second this stream ends, I think I may go Burger King. I don't know.
A Burger King.
Yeah. I may get a Burger King. Get 2 double XLs. Why not?
We're taking callers tonight, guys, at 9 o'clock. Okay, so be sure to be ready to talk about this dreadful game week. I'm sure there'll be someone out there. I had Rico, Vardy, who else? I don't know. Webster.
That's John Harris. I was wondering what on earth you were talking about there, and I just realised because I thought we'd love to see Steve-O hitting a car bonnet with a branch. Mr. Reed, you would be loving this chat at the moment. Oh my goodness!
Splashing out on a Burger King. Is
fact,
Burger King more expensive than McDonald's?
Oh yeah, it's like 7-8 quid. In fact, it's 8 quid for the ones that
Is it?
In fact, if I was to win some money tonight, I don't even think it will pay for a Burger King. Would you believe that? Yeah. Coolio,
wow,
you don't have Grealish, surely.
Coolio with Grealish.
Can't have Grealish. Surely. Yeah. Paulie, this game week's hit me like the moose hit John Basil, yeah. Oh, great episode. Absolutely fantastic episode. If anybody wants to send in some quotes from any of the sitcoms I mentioned and see if I can guess.
Is this what this stream's now become?
This is what it's come down to.
This is what it's come. It's come down to sitcom trivia, ladies and gentlemen.
Trivia from the Office Extras, Faulty Towers, In Between Us. I'm your man. Let me know. Peep Show. This is what it's come down to. But Phoenix Nights as well. That'll be a good one for anybody to join into.
It's all about Only Fools and Horses for me.
Is this a piece of your brain? Very good, Paulie. Very good.
What's that from?
Do you want a cuppa reg? Do you want a cuppa reg?
Cuppa reg. Do you want a cuppa reg? That's got to be off the bill, isn't it? Do you want a cuppa reg? I need to watch Breaking Bad. I thought the movie was better than the series. Oh, there's controversy, everybody. The movie.
I didn't really like didn't particularly like Breaking Bad. I only watched it once, mind. In fact, there's a Faulty Towers. I only watched it once, mind.
I watched a lot of the series, but then I kind of got sidetracked with other things, so I haven't actually seen the final 2 series of Breaking Bad. So I probably should watch that because it was quite critically acclaimed.
Goodbye, Lax Praveen, retired hurt from fantasy football. Good night from India. See you later, dude. Thank
Lax, take it easy, dude. Tomorrow's a new day, my friend. Tomorrow's a new day. Prison Break. I didn't watch that either. No.
David saying that Get Out, Steve. The movie was awful. I thought the movie was all right. That's coming from me. That is coming from me saying that I thought the Breaking Bad film was good.
He's got an arts and maths degree. He can paint by numbers.
Is that a quote or something?
Yeah, it must be a quote. It must be a quote, but it's quite funny. 24, Prison Break, and Breaking Bad in that order. I didn't watch 24, Prison Break, and I've only watched a few seasons of Breaking Bad. Maybe I should go back and watch 24. I don't know. Some lad earlier said he got 6 points with a -8. Did you hear that? Someone earlier on was posting up. Only Fools and Horses is the best, my favourite. Some lad earlier said that he got 6 points with a -8. Pray for him.
Paulie, Friday night dinner. Not for me, but I was told that like series 2 and 3 were quite good.
Simeon Batchelor in chat. Black Mirror. You'll see the world in a different way. Absolutely, Simeon Batchelor. Very much. I like that.
Absolutely fantastic. Oh, I like this one. Grave Dave, what reality TV show would you go on? In fact, funny enough, they were asked this on Planet FPL. They were asked, which reality TV show would you win? Me, I'd say Big Brother.
Really?
I just love the interacting with human beings.
Well,
and I know how to. I nearly swore then. I know how to annoy people, get people on my side, blah blah blah. Anybody watching live from work at the moment?
I don't watch any reality TV, so I don't have a good gauge upon what they're like. Reality TV.
I definitely couldn't do Celebrity Get Me Out of Here.
No, I couldn't do the eating the insects and stuff like that. No, that.
Britain's Got Talent. Well, Sahil, if you're watching this live, you definitely should be going on that impressions of members of work. Someone mentioned up there about not being able to do in-betweeners quotes because they're all they're beyond PG-13. Yeah, you can. There's plenty of in-betweener quotes that you can say.
Innuendos and things like that. I could win Britain's Got Talent apparently with my guitar. Well, we can all sing the theme tune to our podcast when we do our meetup. I'll bring my guitar. That'll be funny. That'll be great.
Someone mentioned that on my stream earlier about a potential meetup, and I did say they've got to they've got to stay tuned. That's a good question. Gabrielle Duroc, favourite stand-up comedian. I like Frankie Boyle, Ricky Gervais easily, Peter Kay, Michael McIntyre, but Michael McIntyre gets a bit.
What about Lee Evans? He was quite good.
Gets a bit samey. Who?
Lee Evans?
I can't say Lee Evans. I cannot stand him. Stand him.
Really? I find him quite good. I think he's quite funny.
Paulie, best quote from In-Between is when Will calls that French student a baguette eating a dead frog. I have no idea what you're on about. No idea. Nicky Flanagan, nah, not for me. Lee Mack, nah, not for me. Sorry, David. Dave Chappelle, no comment. Don't know any of his stuff whatsoever. Gary Goulman, no idea. Gabrielle Duron.
I did like Alan Partridge. Did like that.
Never watched it.
Yeah, I did like that. Yeah.
Never watched it. There we are. Yeah, we should all sing Eyes in the Sky. Yeah, we do it for charity. I'll do it now. Eyes in the Sky.
All right, let's meet him.
I keep singing that at work, to be fair.
We'll get the guitar out, shall I? You can sing along.
If you like Tony Higginson, if you like Frankie Boyle, check out Anthony Jeselnik, funniest comedian out there. Oh, Kevin Bridges, go away. Awful. I don't get it. I just don't understand why people...
number 1, Steve-O, Eyes in the Sky.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Louis C.K. don't understand the hype about him. Borat, rubbish. Although I do understand the human. In fact, another comedy that I absolutely loved.
Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean.
Stone Jacket and Face Jacker.
All right.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I thought Face Jacker was a very Foam Jacker was a very, very clever one, and Face Jacker just took it to a new level. Paulie, it's the episode where Will's, but yeah, I know the episode. Thank you. And they talked him into going to that girl's house party instead, and Simon has the French exchange and stuff at his house, and he ends up sleeping with Charlotte. Yeah, I still don't know the reference. South Park, Aussie boy.
South
like
Park's
50,
good.
50. Some of them are stunning. Some of them are just awful. David. Lauren Hardy are absolutely genius. Absolutely genius.
Any news on Aguero? Is he warming up at all? Anyone seen?
Don't think so. No.
That's all right. I got Lundstrom coming on with a massive haul against Arsenal when he scores 2 goals, and then you'll end up breaking your laptop.
No, because I get Lundstrom on as well.
Oh, you.
Because we got the same team, remember?
Yeah.
You two could be on the IT crowd, and then another sitcom. I don't know how it lasted.
Oh, the IT crowd was brilliant. I loved the IT crowd. So don't you start knocking the IT crowd. That's amazing.
Daily Llama, Aguero's locked on the bench with a wheel clamp. Yeah. And at least you'll have a reason to watch the Monday match. No, I won't.
Well, I won't watch it, but
FPL Penguin, have I watched the American version of The Office? Nope, and I don't ever want to. I have watched bits and pieces, but yeah, not really. I don't want to watch it. Series 1 basically literally copied the English version, but I'm fully aware that it went on to do about 35 series, and it's supposed to be very, very good. I'm not going to lie that, but I don't think I could watch it.
All right, effing baguette eating some. Yeah, okay.
I don't remember the quote. I'm sorry.
I don't remember the quote. I don't remember the quote. I'll have to look.
It doesn't matter. I don't remember the specific quote.
We'll play it back now on stream.
Yeah.
Hello, IT. Have you turned it off and on again? Absolutely, Gav. I loved IT Crowd. I thought it was brilliant.
David, have I ever watched Afterlife?
Oh yeah, with Ricky. Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais, Afterlife.
Yeah.
What's that?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You see him in a different light. He's really good. He's really good. There's a season 2 coming out.
Afterlife, Netflix.
Yeah,
his
wife passed away and he's depressed.
Yeah.
He's depressed. I thought it was really good.
Thoughts on that? Oh, I can't remember. There's only one scene in it which I literally laughed my head off.
That was the one we walked past the school, and I'm not going to repeat it.
No, yeah, everybody goes on about it. It's rubbish. I'd hate all this. Everybody banging on about a scene. It was
good. It was good because it was a different type of character than what you would normally see from Ricky Gervais. So it's a good demonstration of a different alternative character. What a save!
Let's go. Benteke nearly scored, but
really
saved by Edison.
Right.
Very good save by Edison.
I wouldn't mind Palace scoring, to be honest with you. I really wouldn't mind them scoring because a lot of people have got.
Because it means that my bet will bring in something a bit better. David, An Idiot Abroad, absolutely awful because it was just 2 stage. Series 1's okay, that's a bit more real, but Series 2 on was just awful. Really annoyed me that series. Really, although I will say that the Idiot Abroad with Warwick Davis, that was really good because it felt really authentic and it wasn't staged whatsoever. That was, in fact, I would say that was brilliant, that one, because I thought Warwick Davis and Carl Pilkington's chemistry together was stunning. And the scene where Carl is legitimately getting really, really angry with the jet pack in the water. Oh my God, absolutely.
I can't believe anyone would be that stupid in real life, so I don't find it funny at all. It just seems a bit too fake.
Trust me. I'm a full-on Ricky Gervais, Steve Merchant, Carl Pilkington nut in the sense of I listen to all the XFM shows in order when they were literally like, oh, it's just stunning. And I'm telling you now, Carl, he's a piece of garbage. But whatever. I'll tell you an underrated sitcom by Ricky and Steve, which I don't understand why nobody likes, was it's A Life Too Short. Life's Too Short, I thought, is a piece of genius. And I think it's up there with The Office and Extras, but it just got no praise. And even the Christmas edition to that, it works brilliantly. And it's such a wonderful camaraderie with Les Dennis, Keith Chegwin, and Sean Williamson, Barry from EastEnders. It's
Barry from EastEnders. God, yeah. He was in. He's been in a few things. Barry from EastEnders. Oh, let's have a look at this. Gonna go back to FPL questions now for a moment.
Do we have to?
Any plans to bring in Salah for forthcoming game week, seeing all the top guns are returning 1 or 2 points? Are we not calling Salah a top gun anymore then? That was a question for you, Steve-O.
What, that Salah isn't a top player anymore? Nah, that's a load of rubbish. Of course he blinking is. Of course he is. When he goes and scores 2 goals against you lot tomorrow, then everybody's screaming what an amazing player he is.
He ain't going to score 2 goals against us tomorrow. It'll be 0-0. Be 0-0, and Warren Bissaka will get a clean sheet, and so will Liverpool.
Ramsey Sinclair making the point that the Ricky Gervais Show podcast is amazing. It is, but I highly recommend legitimately that you listen to on YouTube. Go to the I'm patronising you here possibly, but Manmoth, MANMOTH, Manmoth. I highly recommend that you listen from the XFM radio shows, listening to them literally live on radio. Now they are absolutely pieces of genius because it's like us doing it live. Sometimes I think when I'm listening back to these live streams, we are live. We're not doing this pre-recorded. And those XFM shows will show you how Ricky, Steve, and Carl hit it off, and also the actual, interestingly, the development of The Office and Extras. It gives you an insight into where they got their ideas from. Good lad, Ramsey Sinclair every night. Good lad.
Can I just ask the chat how many players have you got yet to play? I've got 3 if Aguero doesn't come on. How many players have you got yet to play?
You haven't got Trent Alexander-Arnold, have you?
No.
Oh, De Bruyne has just hit the post. Oh! A header. And he's just
3, Varta 2, Arnold 2, Gabriel 2. Penguin's got 4. Anarag's got 4. 3, 5. Yassine's got 5 to play. 2,
5?
Salah and... Yeah.
Are they all Arsenal? Arsenal is Sheffield
United.
United.
And Liverpool.
I've got 2.
4, 6. Says Tahir. 6? Don't know. Really? 6 players? Are you counting the captaincy in that? That's okay. Well, I was happy with 3, but to have 4, 5, and 6 more players, I mean, I wish I had 11 to play, says Nasu. I'm on 23 points and I have 6 to play, including my captain, says Paulie. Well, there you go. You got 7 then. I always count the captain twice. Wow, I'm quite worried seeing the amount of people who've got 5 and 6 players yet to play. I'm thinking, oh god, I've only got 3 to play, and I'm still going down to 800,000. I've gone 200,000 dropping 200,000 places, and that's only tonight.
I'm on 26 points.
Ooh.
26 with 2 to play.
We've gained. That means you've gained.
Maybe Lundstrom may come on.
You've gained.
If Aguero come on, but
you've gained about 10 points on me, Steve-O.
Brilliant. Great. Unbelievable. Yeah, 20 is the average at the moment.
No, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I'm on 17 if you take away my minus 12.
Coolio saying he's got Trent Alexander-Arnold as captain. Wow. Fair play to you.
Well, fair
This
enough.
is when Man United win 1-0. Really wouldn't
City
surprise.
have got a few folk warming up apparently, and Aguero isn't one of them. I'm going to say it now. Aguero is not coming on.
No.
Why would he? Why would he bring Aguero on? Just to annoy us FPL managers, I suppose. That I'm saying it now. If Aguero comes on, he's doing it purely for FPL reasons alone, not for football reasons. There's no need to bring Aguero on right now.
Blimey, Anurag predicted 5-0.
Mane
Anurag,
hat-trick.
if Liverpool win 5-0, and that's without the people that you've mentioned who are scoring, then you're more than willing to come on air and just host the show. But
there you go. Didn't even have to ask me. Then he just stated it as a fact, right?
Because you imagine if it ended 6-0, you'll be wiping your forehead.
Tomorrow's show's cancelled if it ends 6-0.
Come on, Kevin De Bruyne, get me something, please. Shame all the quotes have stopped now. I've got nothing to talk about.
The game's now heading into the final 5 minutes, so we might as well just see how it's going. Steve-O with his sidekick Jason. Sidekick?
No. We're both superheroes. We're both a team.
Anurag is banned for Discord. There you go, Anurag. If you get it right, I'm going to unban you from Discord. There you go. Shaban's
apparently on 42 points. Well, he's in our Cash Mini League, so I can clarify that straight away if that's actually true. Shaban, eh? I know he's quite high up.
This is the awkward 5 minutes where we've got nothing to talk about in terms of fantasy football.
He's on 30 points. Oh, wait a minute. Is this including substitutes? So he's got Rico coming on. That's 36. So he's on 36 points. Wow. This is purely a team of perfect players from today. Vardy, Hudson-Odoi, Rico, Sterling.
Apparently, Lax in chat saying that KDB is doing everything which passes the eye test. Let's hope he scores.
I doubt he's going to score in the next couple of seconds. John Harris, great. John Harris, brilliant. I'm currently going up rank by 400 places. But don't worry, I was 1.9 before this game. Genius. Absolutely genius.
At least you're going the right way, John. I'm going the other way.
Ollie's at the well. Sunday rage surgery, yeah.
Could well be a rage surgery.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of people.
Points and everything in live FPL, yeah, that makes sense. Aussie boy, there's about 3 or 4 minutes left to play. Is the answer to you? Is that right, Jason?
There's it's 4 minutes plus injury time, yeah.
Oh, so about, let's say 9 minutes. Right, okay. So 9 minutes left in this game. It's 2-0 at the moment. Let's just quickly go over exactly who. So Jesus and David Silva with the goals, and then Sterling and Bernardo Silva with the assist. And at the moment, it looks like David Silva's getting 3 bonus, Jesus with 2, Cancelo with 1.
Yep.
Kevin De Bruyne is nowhere near. Surprise, surprise. Bonus points. So once again, Steve-O has had a captaincy fail once again. Brilliant.
Well, no, you got 1 more point than me. So you get 2 more points than me, Steve-O. Congratulations. Everybody clap your hands. Well done, Steve-O. You beat my captaincy score. You closed some points on me.
Sterling just missed a sitter. Yeah. Don't worry, it could be worse. We could be Shano with Connolly captain today and triple captain Connolly next week.
Have you seen that emote that I've got of you that Penguins just posted?
That's me. What on earth is that?
It was supposed to be the. It was supposed to be the animated. It was supposed to be the animated emote of you doing the celebration when I hit the -16. But
Here we go.
unfortunately, YouTube don't have animated. They don't have animated emotes at the moment. So when they do, believe you me, guys, we're gonna have that animated. Don't you worry about it.
Edison with another. It is one for Alex Volo.
Yeah, you need to get in the photo shoot for Alex.
That emoji is.
Did you see it?
Rubbish.
It's not.
I actually thought it was a
It's
horse.
great. That emoji is amazing.
It's like a horse, Jason.
A horse.
All it was. If you look at it, it's his ear, and then that's what it looks like. Oh my goodness! Brilliant. Worth getting in Edison, everybody. He seems to be.
I'll have a play with the emotes later on.
I wonder if FPL lads at the game tonight. That's a question. There it is. There's the horse.
It's not a horse. I can see the horse now. I can see the horse.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Anybody in chat looking at this? There's me, but it's actually a horse.
They can see it on the screen.
Brilliant.
Yeah, is the game over yet?
No, it's not. I want to get going.
Yeah, well, we're on tonight. We're going to be on tonight. Well, actually, are we going to be on tonight? Because Discord has been down this afternoon.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
And Gesh is saying about the fact that it's not even up now. Let me see if can't you access it now? No.
I'm trying to now to see if it's working. It's been down pretty much all afternoon. Well,
I'm just loading up
on
to
and
see
off.
if it works at my end.
It's not working, I don't think.
And the answer is no. So we may not be doing a stream. Oh no.
It's really laggy. Well,
right, okay.
We'll see what it's like at 9 o'clock.
In.
Yeah, I'm logged in as well. It's really, really slow at the moment, though.
In what sense? As in?
Well, that's just temperamental.
Right. Okay.
Well, I'm logged in. I'm fine. Chelsea Flyers here as well. Yeah, it's fine. We'll be all right tonight to do a stream. It's fine.
We'll be all right. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Okie dokie then.
Foden's coming on. Brilliant.
Aguero's not coming on. Brilliant. De Bruyne is off.
Hooray! I got 3 points. This is when Foden probably scores now, and my bet goes down the pan. Blimey, Arnie Arnold, Edison and Patrizio doing me proud. You got them both. Well, Daily Llama, looks like you've got Rico coming off the bench because I'm assuming Aguero's your man. Brilliant. I can't get my head around. Yeah. Gotta hate game week 9. Oh my god, can you believe it, Jason? Kevin De Bruyne scored according to Harry Cleanfilm. Clear off.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, he's got a shout out, that's the main thing. He's got a shout out. That's the main thing. Desperate for attention. Please give me attention. Jesus Christ. Sorry, that should be Jesus Christ.
You got to wave. Wave.
That's good gravy, Dave. We'll all wave, Jason. We'll all wave. Na 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 na.
Na 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 na. Hey, goodbye. Cheerio, 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 cheerio. Anyway, this is what this evening's come to, guys.
Reese saying his wild card's failed. How do you think my wild card's done? Flaming out, man. Trust us. Oh, waste of time. Absolute waste of time. Yeah, done. Another one bites the dust. Dun.
That was Queen. As opposed to, what was it, Europe, the final countdown? Earlier on, you said that the final countdown was sung by Queen, you said?
Reese, you're on 26 points, was the same as me.
Oh yeah, change the subject, Steve. It's fine. We all know you got it wrong.
Yeah, Daily Llama. I've got a book called Don't Go Wasting Your Wild Card. Yeah, I could review that in a minute if you wanted me to, but I don't want to get banned from the site. I'll do the older David Brent regarding that book. Disappointing. The question he gets asked in the interview is, "What's your biggest disappointment?" He says, "Alton Towers. Oh, I've never been. It's rubbish." Next. It's the same with that book. Disappointing. It's the end of it.
It's the end of the game, guys. Awesome. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. And Aguero never came on.
I won a bet. I've won £7.
There you go. Well done. There you go. So that's Burger King sorted now for the evening. So join me and Steve-O tonight at 9 o'clock when we will take calls from you guys in the community and discuss this absolute dreadful game week. Thank you ever so much for sticking with us, talking about sitcoms, movies, and... Na. Goodbye.
See you later, guys.
There we go. Bye.